Scott Holliday here, and welcome back to Plus 2 Wrestling. Well, this is not the video I thought I'd be making today. You see, if you follow me on Blue Sky, which you should, I like to keep a big tally of all the matches on WrestleMania week. I watch as much wrestling as I can, and I keep a running tally of what the top 10 matches I've seen so far is. And one match that caught my eye that I thought might be my number one was MJF versus Darby Allin for the AEW Championship on Dynamite. Because I'll be real, last year Dynamite put up quite a bit of a fight against WrestleMania and all of the collective that GCW was doing. They put out some really good matches on Mania week, and I was like, oh, they are set to do it again. And then what happened? We got a 4-minute squash match where Darby Allin became the AEW champion. And I was a bit disappointed because I was expecting more out of it. But the more I think about it, all the elements and all the things that went into it, I started to really love what happened. So I thought we would break it down. Let's talk about that squash match, and let's get on my soapbox. So we begin our journey with this matchup at Dynasty. At Dynasty, there were two important matches. There was Darby Allin versus Andrade, and there was MJF versus Kenny Omega for the AEW title. Now, the Darby match was set up by MJF. MJF paid off Don Callis to make sure Darby didn't get a title shot. But if Darby won, he would get a title shot for the AEW Championship. MJF didn't want that to happen, figured Andrade would win easily. Darby steals the pin. This bothered me, night of, because I felt like it gave away the main event. Like, he doesn't win a match with MJF. He wins a match for the title. So I thought, oh, you just gave away that Kenny Omega is definitely not winning. And that's exactly what happens. Kenny Omega loses in the main event to MJF in like an hour-long war. Like, it's not the Texas Death Match that we saw out of Hangman Adam Page and MJF, but MJF still gets busted open. There's still tables. It's a war. And it exhausted MJF sits back on his throne and descends into hell at the end of Dynasty, which was an amazing image. But then a very important thing happens, and happens on social media. We find out that the Darby Allin MJF title match is not going to wait till the next pay-per-view. It's less than a week away on Dynamite. And what that told me as a wrestling fan is, oh, okay. So Darby's not the big new challenger to MJF. They're just going to have a match on Dynamite, and that'll be kind of filler until we get to what's next, Double or Nothing. It's like, okay, so probably something will happen in the Darby match that will lead to who the next big challenger is. Like, maybe it will be Andrade. Maybe he'll turn face and he'll face MJF. Or, I don't know, maybe it could be Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho did just lose to Ricochet, but he's kind of hot, and he has, history with MJF. That makes a lot of sense. We're going to use this to build to the next feud. Okay. But then MJF cuts a promo, and this promo takes place solely on social media, where he says this.
Hey, I'm just going to cut you off right now, okay, Toots? I am going dark on socials, on my phone. Nobody call me. I'm going to go home to my wife and make sweet love to her because your boy just proved ain't nobody on the level of the devil. Good day, Renee.
So an over-the-moon MJF announces his media blackout. So the idea is he has turned off his phone and is not paying attention to wrestling at all for the next few days. Like a true heel. He's not a fighting champion. He's won his match. He's taken time off. He's not going to worry about training. He's not going to worry about anything to do in the world of wrestling. He's the champ, and he is taking some PTO. We open Dynamite with Renee explaining that Tony Khan has been calling MJF every hour on the hour, trying to get him to on the line so he'll know that he has a match with Darby Allin tonight. MJF then rolls up, and this whole thing, this might be my favorite piece of business I've seen in quite some time. A cocky, ill-informed MJF jumps out, and when Renee tries to talk to him about Darby, he's like, why are we talking about Darby? That's a guy I beat twice with a headlock takeover. Let's talk about the champ. I'm the best. I beat Kenny Omega. Look, Don Callis is here. Don Callis shows up, shakes hands with Don Callis. He's like, by the way, thank you so much for what you did. I didn't see the match, but I assume Andrade beat Darby, which is an amazing bit of heel work. To be so removed from the company that you work for that you didn't watch any of the show, you didn't look into any results, you were just like, I don't want to watch wrestling. It's so funny. It's such a good idea. And I was laughing so hard during all of this. Don Callis then explains that, no, Darby in fact did win. MJF says, okay, Andrade will never get a title shot, and you owe me a favor. And he tries to walk off when Renee says, Max, you gotta listen to me. You have your match with Darby tonight. And a panicked MJF says, what? When? And Renee says, right now. MJF then screams, what the F, they bleep it. And it cuts immediately to Darby's entrance. This was so well put together. This idea of MJF having no idea what's going on in the company that he's the champion of is some of the best bit of heel work. I just absolutely love this. What comes next is not a match, but a promo. Max decides that he is not going to have this match because he is unprepared. And this leads to Darby doing a crying promo about how he needs this. He's been to the top of Mount Everest. He needs to win that championship. And if he can't do it tonight, he'll never be the guy. So it has to happen tonight. Ring the bell. Bryan Danielson then ends up interrupting, saying, Tony Khan has just reached out. Max does need time to prepare. So it will be the main event. This is a great bit of heating up the crowd in that you are teasing that you're going to take something away from them that they really want to see. This is Darby's hometown. This is where he trained to become a professional wrestler. And the crowd there wants to see Darby Allin become champion. This is, Sami Zayn in Canada. This is Drew McIntyre when he battled Roman at Clash in the Castle. That's that hometown feel, and we are now playing with the idea that we made you this promise and we're taking it away. So the crowd is super hot and super happy to hear that they are going to get their match. So the stage is set. It is Darby Allin versus MJF. And Darby says a very important line here. He says, tonight I'm going to beat you with a headlock takeover. More on that in a moment. We have to talk briefly about the Ciampa match that happens after this. Tommaso Ciampa comes out and fights, I think it was Xavier of the Rascals. And they have a great match. Great hard-hitting match. Definitive victory for Tommaso Ciampa. Like that. And Ciampa then cuts a promo where he says, I need gold. I'm here to win gold. And if I'm not making myself clear, MJF, Darby, whoever wins, I'm coming for you. Now, people have a problem with this because after he cuts this promo, Tommaso Ciampa attacks Xavier a little bit more. And it kind of is like him turning heel. So it kind of gives away that Darby is winning. I don't necessarily agree because I don't believe that they're going to commit to Tommaso Ciampa like I want them to. When I saw this promo, I saw it as, oh, this is them reminding the viewer, hey, the main event is still to come. This is just a promo for the main event. Because there might be people coming in late. There might be people who saw online that the MJF and Darby match was opening the show. So they need a reminder of, hey, you didn't miss it. It's actually going to be the main event. That is a very important puzzle piece, that they're just continuing to fan the flames and build this burning for this matchup. Very well done. We then get a promo package about the feud between MJF and Darby Allin, which it's really good that the match did not actually take place at the top of the show, because some editor put this all together for it just not to air if this opened the show. So that's good. In this, they explain the feud and what happened to Darby Allin. Darby Allin has faced MJF many times, and MJF has no respect for Darby Allin. And he has beaten Darby Allin twice with a headlock takeover, which is, of course, an MJF lie. He has knocked him out with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and then performed a headlock takeover, and then pinned him. This is eaten away at Darby as he's battled through many bloody battles, as he's worked with Sting, as he's climbed Mount Everest. But this is the true Everest, to get to the top of this business, which is wording he actually uses, which is brilliant. He has to beat MJF tonight. Then the rest of the show happens, which is not important to this video, but Dynamite happens, in case you're wondering. We lead to the main event, where Darby meets up with Sting. And Sting explains that it is, in fact, Darby's time. Darby needs to go out there and do what he needs to do. He doesn't have advice. Darby already knows. He just needs to go out there and become champion. This felt a bit like a spoiler to me. I was like, oh, Sting's there. I think Darby's winning. I mean, there's also the possibility that we're going to see a laid-out Sting and a laid-out Darby, and this is going to lead to another match later down the line, maybe at Double or Nothing. Like, maybe this is just getting us and heating up the main event of Double or Nothing. That makes sense. Then we get to this match. I love this match. And I love it for this moment. Don't be weird about this, but I think this is an important moment, so don't be weird. But Editor Mike, I need you to zoom in on MJF's crotch. It is clear in the outline of MJF's tights that he has the Dynamite Diamond Ring on him. It's just a small detail that puts that back in your mind, like, this is what MJF does. He knocks people out with the ring, and then he hits them with a headlock takeover. So you get that expectation, and then the bell rings, and he immediately tries to get rid of the Dynamite Diamond Ring. He hands it to Aubrey. Aubrey turns her back, and MJF hits a low blow. He then goes for a headlock takeover. He's gonna do it a third time. He's gonna beat Darby with a headlock takeover. And Darby was able to counter the headlock takeover, which is such a good piece of business there, because he's countered the move that has technically beaten him twice there. MJF almost goes into Aubrey, turns around, and Darby hits a low blow of his own. This is perfect, because this is Darby getting revenge for a thing that MJF has already done. If Darby hit the low blow like immediately, you'd be like, oh, what was that out of Darby? But Darby's actions are entirely justified by the work of MJF there. Darby then hits a Scorpion Death Drop, followed by 4 Coffin Drops to win the match in a squash match. The locker room empties out along with Sting to celebrate Darby's victory. There are 2 really important things to remember about this match that makes this match so special. First, yes, it's a squash match. But they did so much to protect MJF in this squash match. The fact that he recently beat Kenny Omega is something that they bring up many times online. That's like the big debate is, you mean to tell me that Kenny Omega couldn't beat MJF and Darby did it in 4 minutes? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, they're basically doing the thing that Goldberg did to Brock Lesnar. Brock had just beaten The Undertaker, and now he's getting squashed? How could this be? The big difference here is Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and then lost to Goldberg months later at SummerSlam. MJF went through a war with Kenny Omega. He mentioned how badly his back hurt, and he's being forced into this match. MJF is not at 100%. MJF is also one of the most calculated wrestlers in AEW. He always has a game plan. But that has been completely neutralized in this match because he didn't know it was coming. He only had a few flustered hours to prepare for this match. MJF is then hit with a low blow, an illegal maneuver, something that has ended matches before, and then hit with 5 finishers. Darby's finish 4 times, and a legendary finisher out of Sting's Scorpion Death Drop. They hit Max with the kitchen sink here. They also did this very clever thing where Max getting squashed isn't that strange and doesn't hurt his credibility, because Max was already squashed by Brody King. Take you back a couple of weeks where Brody King had a title eliminator match with MJF, and MJF got distracted, but then quickly got choked out and beat in the center of the ring. Max then immediately gets his heat back by defeating Brody King the next week. You have already trained your audience that if MJF gets pinned quickly, it doesn't hurt MJF, because MJF will always have a plan for how to come back. So they've put all those pieces in place to create this squash match that, in my opinion, based off of the information they've given us, doesn't hurt MJF at all. And that's a good thing, because it had to be this way. I want you to think back on all of MJF's feuds. Think about what he did to Kenny Omega this week, or during his storyline with Kenny Omega. He was telling Kenny Omega that he was going to die soon because his stomach was going to explode. He kicked him in his guts and made him bleed internally, spewing blood out. Think about what he did to Cody Rhodes. He got a belt and whipped him 10 times. He forced Wardlow to have a cage match with him. I mean, think about what he did to Wardlow. He absolutely demolished Wardlow. He kept him in a cage, basically, constantly demeaning him and showing his ownership over Wardlow. Those 3 storylines all have the elements that make MJF so despicable that he needs violence to be put upon him. He needs to be physically destroyed for his actions. But what'd he do to Darby? He didn't physically hurt Darby. Like, everybody physically hurts Darby. How many people have thrown Darby down or into steps? Many. But MJF didn't try to hurt Darby physically, because clearly you can't. The man jumps off of ladders through glass. MJF hurt Darby mentally. MJF embarrassed Darby Allin. It wasn't that they had been through wars. It was that MJF doesn't respect Darby. MJF thinks Darby is nowhere near his level, and heck, he can beat Darby Allin with a headlock takeover. The punishment must fit the crime. If Darby had thrown MJF off the stage through a flaming barbed wire wrapped table, it would mean less than him humiliating MJF in a 4-minute squash match. This is the way it had to be. Darby needed the win, and he needed the win not to be violent, but embarrassing. And after months of well-crafted storytelling, that's what happened. They made sure you knew about that headlock takeover throughout the night. Like, that was the first thing MJF said, was I beat you with a headlock takeover. And finally, Darby gets his revenge. Now, do I know if Darby's going to have a good run with the title? Of course not. But this bit of business, this squash match, is absolutely the next story beat in the MJF Darby Allin story. Because it had to be humiliation. And it didn't actually hurt MJF. So that's it. That's my breakdown on that squash match. I forgot the name of my own series. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of Darby Allin becoming champion. Do you think he's going to be a good champion? Do you think the squash match was the way to go? Let me know in those comments down below. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm posting reels there every day until recently when Instagram stopped working. But when Instagram begins working again, there will be reels. You will enjoy them. I promise you that. Also, be sure to subscribe right here to Plus2 Wrestling so you'll get a notification next time I put out a video. And most importantly, I hope you have a great day.